Hey you guys, welcome back to the Vinyl Countdown. I'm Peaches. What's going on? Welcome back to the Easy Listening Lounge. Hey you guys, I've been watching videos this week pretty intensely, and I stumbled across a video from Metal Mickey, and I thought this video was great, man, because he raised a pretty huge question right at the beginning of his video, and he had asked, why doesn't anybody in the vinyl community talk about the 90s? And it raised a huge question to me too. Dude, you're right. Why doesn't anybody talk about the 90s? And so he went on with his video, and I watched it, and so I thought I would get on here and basically oblige him and basically respond to his video and talk about the 90s a little bit. Like, what's Peaches think about the 90s? You know what I'm saying? So I would like to talk to you guys about the 90s. The 1990s, and what kind of music that I used to listen to back then, what kind of stuff I was discovering in the music arena, and a lot of the pains and frustrations I was going through as well. And basically, maybe I think I could start out with that first. You know, I graduated high school in 1991, and at that time, right after graduation, I would have to say that there was this huge shift in the Earth's crust when it came to music. I was heading into college for radio and TV broadcasting, and you know, I started classes doing that stuff, and then all of a sudden, this you know, when you work at a radio station, things come in the door that are promo copies. That's where all the promo copies come from, you guys. And what happens is these albums come in the door, and they want the record companies want the radio station to start playing them over the radio to help promote the albums and sell them. Pretty simple stuff, right? And when I had first started that, this came in the door. So you can imagine living back then, you guys, when, you know, it was going to be my first year of college, and this album comes in the door that nobody's ever heard of. Pearl Jam 10. You know, and at that time I had, like, what you'd say was a lot of frustration and heartache and growing pains and things, because I was a major metalhead. And metal was just getting drove into the ground. And we thought it was basically the beginning of the end. So it's like you had to ask a lot of questions, like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? Do I just keep listening to my old stuff? Do I maybe expand and start moving out into other things? So basically, that's what I did. I used a combination of those things. I held on to my past, you know, and to the very end, you know, where you had those albums like the Black Album from Metallica, Extreme Porno to Graffiti 2. You had the last album from Firehouse. You know, Winger was packing it up. They were probably at the end of their last tour for the In the Heart of the Young album. You know, and then you had like things like Rat Detonator and Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears, AC/DC, The Razor's Edge. So that was basically the beginning of the end, you guys. So, yeah, a terrible time for people, and I think that's part of the reason why we don't talk about the 80s so much, Metal Mickey. But I'd like to go through a big stack of stuff here that I have from the 90s that I'd like to show you and kind of tell you what I think about it. And maybe there's some stuff in here that you had discovered at one time and passed it up, or don't know about it at all. Or stuff you just plain don't like, or you do like. But let me go through it and share it with you guys, okay? And we can kind of see what was going on in those 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the first one here I'm going to show you is a pretty basic run-of-the-mill answer to that question is Pearl Jam 10. Pearl Jam 10 is an amazing album, you guys. I love that Once, Even Flow, and I love that song Jeremy. Oh man, that song is just completely awesome to me. It was a change in sound, remember, and we did have to get used to it a little bit. But after hearing that album a couple times, you guys, not a problem. I grew right into it. And this is from 1991. Like I said, I was going out of high school, right into the college deal. And this one that I have happens to be a bootleg. Yeah, if we pull out the record here, You can see that this is kind of obviously not an official release here, but yeah, it's on the yellow and puke green vinyl here with some questionable labels, and you can even see a factory defect here where the label has been folded over at the factory by accident in the pressing machine. So yeah, there's a bootleg copy of Pearl Jam 10, all right? And then another year had gone by and they probably went on tour, and then after that they had a follow-up album, which was this one. This Pearl Jam album. There's the sheep on the front. It almost looks like a close-up of like a volleyball net, almost. And this one is 1993, okay? This one has some more great songs on it, you guys. This one is also a bootleg. On the back it says that it's a promo copy, but no, I don't think so. Yeah, and this one's got the same cheesy labels. And this one comes on the translucent blue vinyl. I don't know, man. I think it's I did look it up at one time. It was some kind of an unofficial release from either Spain or the UK or something like that. But yeah, I stumbled upon it. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'll grab it. Yeah, but this one's from 1993. Another great album. Like, and while I'm going through here, you guys, these are some albums that I picked up because I like them. I like them a lot. So if you want to give them a try, I would totally suggest any of these albums. Now, at that time, you had Pearl Jam, right? And you had, obviously, Nirvana, which I will not have in my house. Okay, it's just for my reasons. I don't like them. I think they're way overrated. But so you had your Nirvana, you had your Pearl Jam, you had Chris Cornell was coming into the scene. You know Soundgarden, right, you guys? Okay. So I thought here would be another really great one to show you that involves both of them, Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell. And this is called Temple of the Dog. Awesome, awesome album, you guys. This was from 1991. Okay, there's some kind of a story that goes along with this. What was it? Was it Chris Cornell was roommates with the lead singer, some Andrew guy? I think he might have been in the band Mother Love Bone, and they were roommates or something. And then something happened to this guy, this Andrews Woodies or something like that. I don't know if I think he died. And then, so they wanted to do like a tribute to him, and everybody was all just crazy. So, Eddie Vedder came along and, joined up with Chris Cornell, and they, did this album together, with a bunch of the other, band members from those groups, like, Mother Love Bone and all that. It was kind of like almost like a super group, we'd probably call it today. Okay, and a lot of great songs on here. There was the one on here that Eddie Vedder did with Chris Cornell. Which one is it? Excuse me, I got a dry throat going on here. Oh, Hunger Strike. A lot of you guys might know that song, Hunger Strike, with those two singing the duet on that song. Very, very good song. So yeah, this is early 90s, you guys. 1991, Temple of the Dog, where all that grunge started really sewing together, you know what I'm saying? Here was another one, had a completely different sound that a lot of people latched onto real fast, and that's Alice in Chains. This is a bootleg live in concert from 1990 in the Los Angeles area, and we just picked this up on our last video, Mrs. Peaches and I. And we had a chance to throw it on the record player, and I'm telling you what, there's nothing like a little early Alice in Chains to get you going. And then a lot of the sounds that came out of the early 90s with all of this stuff, with the Pearl Jam and the Nirvana and the Alice in Chains and the Soundgarden, very depressing stuff, man. Very depressing, and that's the one thing that I didn't like about the 90s. In that era of that grunge, that everything just had to be depressing and dark and bad, you know. And for us people that came out of the 80s, that, you know, metal was fun, music was fun, all of a sudden it was like Debbie Downer, you know what I'm saying? here comes another group with that same theory behind them, but a very awesome group. You just kind of learn to love this stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that's Stone Temple Pilots, the Core album. Iconic, you guys. If you don't have this album, you need to get it. This is a music on vinyl repressing that I got a little while ago. It's a double album. The fourth side is etched, and it's got all that fancy etching on it, which doesn't really do anything for me, actually. But yeah, this one was 1992, you guys. Stone Temple Pilots, another one of those groups with that Seattle sound. You know, everybody kept talking about that Seattle sound and how all the, you know, like down in, you know, all the music was, the core of the music was from, you know, the late 80s into the 90s, coming out of that Los Angeles, Hollywood, Sunset Strip area, and even including San Francisco. Well, all of that stuff shifted up the coast into that Washington area, and they started calling it now the Seattle grunge scene, or the Seattle sound. It was just a very weird thing. Like I said, the earth shifted. And then after the Stone Temple Pilots album, the core one, they got super huge, super fast. Stone Temple Pilots did. Ton of videos on MTV, a real huge following that started. And then they followed up with this one called the Purple Album, which is another great album from the 90s, man. This is like that 1994 area. A lot of great songs on here. This happens to be, I'm not going to show it to you guys because this happens to be an original copy of that album from 1994, and it is still sealed. Okay? The reason I don't want to open this is because there was two versions of this that came out. There was a copy that came on purple vinyl, and then there was a copy that came on regular black. Now, if you have the purple one of these, that was the most common one. Okay, but if you have the rare black one, it's worth pretty big bucks. So I don't want to open up this one to find out, but from all of my investigation tells me that this is the black copy. So yeah, Stone Temple Pilots, the Purple Album, another one you guys should have in your collection if you want to discover some stuff from the 90s. Now we go to a whole different kind of music from the 90s that you might be hearing in the background right now, and that's 4 Non Blondes, and this album is called what is it called? Bigger, Better, Faster, More. 4 Non Blondes. Now, if you're familiar with that group Concrete Blonde, these guys are going to be like sisters to them. This is like a kind of a female group, a female leaded group, and this album is from 1992. And it's just a whole different side. It's kind of a gritty, deserty, vampire-y type deal. A lot of acoustic stuff in there, but the rock guitar comes in, and you know, being accompanied by those female vocals, it does really, really well. Like I said, it's vampire-y, deserty, open adventure, open range. Not country though. More on the rock side, but with a lot of acoustic. Yeah, they got one on here. What's Up? Spaceman. The Train. Dear Mr. President. Superfly was a really good one. What's Up is another good one, yeah. So yeah, 4 Non Blondes. Chick singer. Very good stuff from the early 90s, but a different direction than grunge, for sure. And then go off into another direction. Here we have a group called the Wallflowers. Okay? The Wallflowers, they had that Headlight song, if you want to look that one up. It was a pretty big hit, the Headlight song, yeah. And another thing you might not know about the Wallflowers, that this is Jacob Dylan. Is the guy that kind of heads this up a little bit here. And he is Bob Dylan's son. Yeah, Bob Dylan. You know Bob Dylan, right? So yeah, if you like Bob Dylan, you're probably going to want to check this out. It's just a more modern 90s version of Bob Dylan in a way. That's really nice to listen to. I actually like this album a lot. It's that softer, rocky type stuff. You know, that Hootie and the Blowfish kind of deal. You know, if you know Hootie and the Blowfish, kind of in that area a little bit, you know. Yeah, this is from 1996. Not Hootie, but the Wallflowers. Great album, but in a totally different direction. And then you guys, a lot of people might not realize this, but there was another whole turn of events in the 90s that was coming back to metal. And these guys were coming in to save the day, probably because they were sick of it. And all I can say is, oh, Canada. That's right, you guys. Believe it or not, Nickelback is from the 90s. This is their 1998 album called The State. And this is probably their big breakout album, okay? I think it might be the second album. They had one before this that did not ever come out on vinyl. So this is the first, this might be the first actual album of theirs that came out on vinyl, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, it's from 1998. I'm trying to think of my favorite one on here. Old Breathe is on here. Leader of Men. Leader of Men is the one that I used to go out and play and sing at the open mic nights on acoustic guitar and sing. Yeah, love that song, Leader of Men by Nickelback. A total, like, we're turning this train around, and I was super happy to find them. I'm like, by then I was so sick of that stuff, I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. And the one group that I super loved before this group that I got sick of, and I finally found Nickelback was my way out of it, was Matchbox 20. I loved this album. I basically wore it out on 2 different CDs. So many great songs, and I love the vocals from this group. Rob Thomas is his name, for sure. Iconic album from Matchbox 20. If you don't have this one, you should really get it. I mean, they had like 2 or 3 really good albums. And these guys were, they kind of matched up well with that, they were kind of buddies with that Maroon 5 group. You know Maroon 5? Yeah, they were heading into that ultra 90s pop dancey kind of thing, but yet Matchbox 20 kept it real. You know what I'm saying? This was another album all about crappy relationships and getting treated like crap and all that stuff. So, but yeah, just a definitely awesome album. I used to sing every song on here in the car all the way home, all the way to work. It was pretty good. Yeah, 1996, Matchbox 20. Yourself or Someone Like You. This is a 25th anniversary repressing on cherry red vinyl. Really good. That's another whole direction, you guys. Okay, then we had a couple of groups. You know, I know Metal Mickey held up a group called Live. And there was another group that went along with that group Live. I don't have that album. I'd seen it in the store, but I haven't grabbed it yet. But he showed this group called Live. And here is a group that sounds basically, they could be brothers with Live, and that is Candlebox. Okay, this is Candlebox's album from 1993, and this is a repressing of a really cool way that they did this. You got this album from Candlebox, and this is like I said, like just like Metal Mickey said, it was like a softer toned down rock feeling. With much more distant vocals. Like they tried to bring the vocals back into the music more and not have it so face forward, you know what I'm saying? And so on this album, what they did was on this repressing, this is pretty recent, from Rocktober. What they did was they took and put this album on one half of the gatefold, and then they put the Lucy album on the other side. So this gatefold actually holds 2 different albums, which is pretty neat. And then it's on this really smoky, this crazy smoky, okay, this is from 1993, and this one is from 1995. Okay, and like I said, they got that kind of a softer rock feeling, but real emotional, kind of like Live. And it's on that smoky, swirly, I think they call it smoky vinyl. It's just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But they were another group that I kind of was like, yeah, okay, they're all right. They're all right. You know, you guys might want to check them out. Like I said, a little bit on the softer side, not so heavy. Not real thrashy, not real grungy. but that part of the 90s where Matchbox 20 came in and everybody was getting a little bit softer. Kind of like these guys, like the Black Crowes. This is their 1990 album, Shake Your Moneymaker. And this has got that song, a little bit hard to handle now, Mess Around. Yeah, the Black Crowes, they're another one. They had kind of just a straight up rock and roll, good time feeling to them. You know what I'm saying? Not too depressing, not too depressing at all. The Black Crowes, kind of an easier, softer, straightforward rock and roll type music. Not bad. I think they're pretty likable, you guys. Like I said, this one's from 1990. Good stuff. I believe Andrew at Tales from the Crate suggested this one also. And I'm right there with him. I think it's good stuff. Here's another one that goes along with Candlebox, Live, the group Live. And then you have this one that they all kind of run together in sound almost, which is kind of unique. Blind Melon. This is the one that was competing for space on MTV at the same time all the songs from the Metallica Black album were out. Yeah, so you'd have this cutie little girl with this mellow sounding rock, almost, yeah, just, I don't know, mellow rock stuff, competing with Enter Sandman and The Unforgiven on MTV. Just silly. This one's more of an acquired taste, if I were to define it. I think they got that Thunder song or whatever it's called on there. I can't remember right now. But yeah, Blind Melon. An acquired taste. If you want to check them out, check them out. But I would probably not spend my money unless you investigate them a little bit more. They're a little bit different. But along that Candlebox Live era. Here's another one. Concrete Blonde. Like I said, that For Non-Blondes is kind of like Concrete Blonde, but Concrete Blonde is much darker. Picture chicks dressed in black pleather with high 4-inch heels, pulling up in an old black convertible Cadillac, and they all have black hair and super red lipstick and pale faces, and they're like hot vampires, I would say. Yeah. Concrete Blonde, Bloodletting album. Hot vampire chicks with black hair. I don't know how to describe the music. You know what I'm saying? A real dark, haunted, gritty rock, deserty feel almost to these guys for sure. An album that I would pick up. I would if you like that kind of stuff, like a deserty, rocky, vampire-y feeling. Yes, Concrete Blonde, and this is from 1990. And then after that, Concrete Blonde had another album that we just picked up recently, and I got to listen to it. Still, that dark Concrete Blonde sound, kind of vampire-y and haunted, but yet this one has a real, well, they're stating it right in there. This one's called Mexican Moon. So it's got like an acoustic Mexican cowboys out in the desert feel to it, but still a real nice rock feeling, and still kind of vampire-y and dark. Concrete Blonde. And this one's from 1993. This is also a chick group, by the way. A chick group. So, yeah, you're going to have those really strong, nice female vocals on here, just like For Non-Blondes. For sure. All right, I got one more for you guys from the 1990s that I got in my collection here. And we can't go without it. We just decided to pick it up. We pulled the trigger on it because this is pre-Rob Zombie out on his own, and it's White Zombie. Okay, this is the album with Thunder Kiss 65 on it, which is a completely awesome awesome album. Music on vinyl copy, and this is the pronunciation. I think it's called Sexorcisto, something like that. I don't know. I never really did know how to pronounce that, but yeah, really good album. This is heavy, man. This is almost like the savior for the metal guys. Yep, and this one was 1992. We didn't know if this was going to be grunge. We didn't know if this was going to be metal, but this is, you know, the work of Rob Zombie. You can't go wrong with Rob Zombie, man. Totally suggest this album. This is right before he went out on his own. All right. Well, that's it for the 90s, you guys. It was a very interesting time for everyone in music, a very interesting time to discover new things. And those are the types of things that I discovered that I liked from the 90s. What are the things that you like from the 90s? Hey, respond to Metal Mickey's video and tell us. All right? I'd like to know as well. All right? Well, thanks for coming down to the Vinyl Countdown. I'm Peaches, and I want you guys to have a great night. All right? We'll see you.